Hey everyone, welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. All the details are right here, so settle in. And before we dive into tonight's jaw-dropping update, don't forget to subscribe and share so you don't miss any of the twists still to come. Late last night, a shockwave rippled through the TV world. On the set of one of this season's boldest dramas, a crisis flared up so suddenly that the crew froze in place. In the middle of filming, lead actress Cemre walked off the set in tears, her voice breaking as she clutched a script still smudged with notes. More than one person on the lot claims the tipping point was the behavior of her co-star, Gökberk Yildirim, whose on-camera charisma has never quite masked the chill between them in recent weeks. It all started with a scene that had been tweaked just hours before the cameras rolled. The director had okayed a small adjustment, a single beat of improvisation to keep the moment feeling electric. The change was tiny on paper, but enormous in the space between Cemre and Gökberk. Witnesses say the take began smoothly, but then Gökberk veered off with an improvised line or gesture that no one had rehearsed. Others insist he abruptly stepped out of the frame before the director called cut, leaving Cemre staring into a silence that wasn't scripted. When the scene ended, she turned away, eyes wet, and whispered to someone nearby, "I didn't expect him to do something like this. I'm devastated," before heading straight for her dressing room. The director halted filming almost at once. A hush came down over the set, lights still blazing, fogging the space with heat as the crew waited for instructions. Behind closed doors, Cemre stayed alone for a long time. Teammates tried to check on her, a wardrobe assistant knocked, then a makeup artist, even a supporting actor she trusts left a soft "we're here" at the door. But from inside, there was only the sound of a kettle, the shuffle of a chair, the quiet breathing of someone trying to steady herself. If you followed the whispers surrounding this production, you'll know the rumor mill has churned for weeks about tension between Cemre and Gökberk. Off camera, they've reportedly grown distant, texting through managers, keeping conversations clipped between setups. On the lot, it hasn't gone unnoticed that they've avoided the same lunch table, choosing opposite corners of the canteen even on chilly nights when warmth gathers around a single brew of tea. Crew members describe a hush where the usual laughter used to be, a colder air around the monitor whenever they take their marks. After last night's incident, neither side's camp rushed to comment. Both agencies are said to have repeated one line to anyone who called, "What happened on set is an internal matter, we cannot comment at this time." That calm sentence did little to dim the sparks that were already flying online. Word from inside the production is that an emergency meeting was convened as soon as the director yelled for the set to stand down. Producers reportedly gathered in a cramped office stacked with mood boards and revised scripts, pushing pins around a calendar that now looks painfully fragile. The agenda, according to those familiar with the discussion, was simple and nearly impossible: repair the rift before the shoot falls apart. Friends close to Cemre say she has been under immense pressure, juggling long days and heavy scenes while carrying the emotional core of the story. One confidant put it bluntly, "Cemre's been very tired, very raw. Scenes with Gökberk have been so tense that you can feel it even in the silence." Last night wasn't the first difficult moment, but it was the one that broke the pattern. For some, that assessment explains why she left the stage with tears she didn't try to hide. Once the news leaked, social media lit up like a marquee. The hashtag Cemre soared into trending territory within minutes, and the comments were a battlefield. Some rallied behind her, arguing that there are limits to what anyone should endure on a set, even in the name of authenticity. Others took a firmer line about professionalism and timing, suggesting that personal tension should never derail a shoot. Caught in the crossfire was Gökberk's silence, no statement, no like, no cryptic story, only a calm void that made every rumor sound louder. Production was paused for the night, and then the next morning, too. Internally, the word is mediation, a cooler room, neutral chairs, perhaps a counselor used to creative temperaments trying to build a bridge back to the work. Yet the stakes are more than emotional. Editors are waiting on scenes that may now be scrapped, advertisers have their eyes on the delivery schedule, and writers are sharpening pencils in case a storyline needs reshaping to work around what cannot be fixed. Some say that Cemre, after she finally stepped out of her dressing room, told a producer under her breath, "If he walks in, I'm walking out." Whether those were heat-of-the-moment words or a line she intends to hold is not clear, but the producers are treating the moment like a live wire. One approach floated in that late-night meeting involved rewriting an entire arc to keep them apart without breaking the spine of the story. Another involved a break in filming while temp scenes are shot to keep the post-production conveyor belt moving. As more accounts trickled out, another version of the turning point surfaced. During a rehearsal, Gökberk made an unexpected move while the camera drifted in for a close-up, startling Cemre. The improvised beat might have been a flourish to deepen the moment, but without prep it landed like a misfire. Some witnesses believe he stepped away before the director called cut, leaving the energy of the scene to crash. Others keep insisting it was the line itself, an alteration to the subtext that felt like a breach of trust. Either way, the result was the same. Cemre bowed her head, the take ended, and she disappeared down the corridor with a hand pressed to her chest. The weight of it all has been heavy on the crew, too. Lighting techs, camera operators, assistants who memorize every blocking note by heart, they felt the crack in the room. Where there should be focus, there's a wary quiet. Where there should be rhythm, there's a stutter. One longtime crew member described the atmosphere as like walking on a stage rig made of glass. Despite the silence from official channels, leaks kept feeding the public's appetite. Fans picked sides. Defenders of Cemre posted clips highlighting her craft and discipline, pointing to marathon shooting days that can blur into one long ache. Supporters of Gökberk argued that he always pushes for authenticity, that improvisation is the soul of a moment, that great scenes demand brave choices. As factions formed, the one persistent note was worry that something beautiful on screen might be crumbling behind it. By midday, the production's internal timetable was already battered. The call sheet for the afternoon was replaced with a single line, "To be announced." Meanwhile, the director, often a calming presence, kept quiet in public while trying to keep a sense of order in private. People close to the situation say the plan is to seat the two leads together with a mediator, set a few clear boundaries, and, if possible, bring them back to the emotional truth of the story without risking the human cost that seems to be ballooning out of control. If that doesn't work, insiders whisper, the show will bend rather than break. New scenes could be added. Others might vanish. A long-anticipated confrontation could transform into separate monologues in split locations, stitched together with editing sleight of hand. Nothing is off the table if it means salvaging months of work. What makes this fallout especially heartbreaking is how many moments the two have created together that already sit in the can, sparkling. People who've watched the rough cuts say the chemistry is impossible to fake, even if the off-screen atmosphere has cooled. That very contrast, heat in the frame, ice just outside of it, might be what made last night's fracture hurt so intensely. Late in the evening, a different detail surfaced from someone who claims to have been within earshot. According to that account, Cemre's voice trembled, but her words were steady. "I came ready to work. I just needed to feel safe in the moment." The word safe echoes in a way that goes beyond blocking or lighting. It belongs to trust, the most fragile element between two people trying to build a scene that asks them to expose everything. Back online, #CemreArta kept rising. Thread after thread stacked up, some with careful analysis, some with raw feeling. Calls for empathy multiplied, but so did reminders that none of us knows exactly what a scene demands until we're standing inside it. Through it all, the absence of any official statement from Gökberk remained the story's quiet drumbeat. Supporters framed that silence as dignity, critics read it as evasion, the undecided took it as proof that more is happening behind the curtain than anyone wants to see spill out. By dawn, the production caravan stirred again. Trucks idled. Doors opened. But the red light didn't flare. The crew was told to hold. The actors were told to stand by. In a conference room not far from the soundstage, producers, a coach trusted by both leads, and legal representatives went point by point through a plan intended to put a fence around improvisation, to lock down rehearsals more tightly, and to make sure no one is blindsided when action is called. The downside of that plan, some say, is the loss of spontaneity that can turn a good scene into something unforgettable. The upside is simple: if the work continues, the story can be finished. For now, that balance between risk and guardrails has become the center of the conversation. One more rumor turned the wheel a little further, that on the table is a set of contingency pages prepared by the writers, a version of the next 2 episodes that would realign the story to feature parallel arcs rather than shared ones. Editors would then reorder existing footage to smooth the shift. No one wants to go there, but hearts and budgets are both fragile things. What's easy to forget in the noise is that both Cemre and Gökberk are professionals who've built careers on effort, not accident. People who've known them for years insist that neither is reckless. What they are is human, and a night like this reveals just how thin the line can be between giving everything to a role and feeling like you've run out of yourself. So where does it all go from here? That depends on the next conversation in that conference room. If a middle ground appears, if apologies are shared, if boundaries are clear, if the work can resume without reopening the wound, cameras could start rolling again as soon as tomorrow. If not, the series may pivot, and audiences may notice a recalibration they can't quite name but will certainly feel. For now, we're watching the story behind the story, a tale of two stars caught between lightning on screen and thunder just outside the frame. We'll keep following every development and bring you the truth we can verify, the whispers we can responsibly report, and the context that keeps the human heart in view. That's our update for tonight. If this report was helpful, subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars and share it with fellow fans, because whatever happens next on that set, you'll hear it here first.